Carin Andersen here with your week in review and Aortic Hope. It has been a hot, long minute since I've been here. I've actually been gone now for almost 9 weeks. I had an aortic aneurysm. No, I had an aortic graft repair. I had a bypass and I had my aortic valve replaced. Whew, that was a lot in one surgery. That was a long surgery, and it's been a interesting road of recovery, but I am here with all of you and I'm so excited. And I wanted to kick off this week in review by explaining to you what this is all about. So it's a new year. What we do here is we review all of the content that we posted from the week before on our Facebook page, because we recognize that not all of you are on Facebook. And so we want to give you a chance to kind of just hear me talk about some of the posts that we had, and give you a chance, if you want to make comments here below on the chat, you can. Don't forget to click like. Please click subscribe, and please bear with me as we're doing things a little differently right now. It's a new year. It's a new group of individuals. We're kind of getting our feeling about us, about things. So I am now the chair of the board. I guess I self-promoted with the blessing of the board and have passed that torch of presidency to Terry Cook. We also had brought on Deb Oxborough as our new treasurer. So many changes while I have pump head, changes while I was recovering, but they're all really, really good changes. No matter what, the consistency of our programming, the quality and accuracy of what we share with you, that's the key. Consistency and accuracy. So we hope that what you find here with Aortic Hope is a little different than what you'd find in other places, and that we offer not only support, but a little bit of inspiration, hope, and some awareness. So let's get started right away. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about Monday. Okay, let's try that one more time. All right, we're going to talk about Monday. Bear with me. I love technical stuff. I love it. I love it. You've probably got me up in the upper corner right now. All right, so it was a movement for movement on Monday. We started movement for movement back in 2020, actually, ironically, before COVID. And what we acknowledged and recognized in the community is there's something called cardiac paralysis. People become very nervous and very scared at the idea of having to exercise or move their body. I mean, look, I'm feeling it right now. Remember, Aortic Hope was created after my dissection, about a year after, and then it became a nonprofit about 3 years after my dissection. So this is my first time utilizing our services and our offerings as an actual patient. And I can tell you, my brain is constantly telling me, you've gone too far, you've walked too much, you've walked too much. But I'm starting to understand the difference between I am done and you're feeling your body respond and your muscles are turned on. That doesn't mean you have to stop, right? So everybody's body is different. And I think the key is that I'm my own limit. I make the decision, and my body doesn't need to change. My routine doesn't need to change that much. I just need to make sure that I give it the care and the respect and the movement that it so deserves to be the healthiest it can be. And movement doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It just gets to look like mine. And that might be slow and steady. It could be joyful and expressive. I don't have skip in my step yet, but it's in my mind, so maybe it is. I need to intentionally rest and recover, and that is important. And gentle, consistent progress, that's really important too. Whatever it is that you guys do, just know that it counts, especially for those of you living with aortic disease. Movement can be a very deeply personal journey. Some days it might mean just walking around the block or cleaning out your clothes, switching over summer to winter. I say this all the time because I do it all the time. It might mean getting back into a routine where you're doing a Spartan race or a 5K walk or whatever it is. It's just personal to you. Some days it could just be stretching. Oh, and like I just did, intentionally breathing because I still struggle to catch my breath. And sometimes doing nothing is doing exactly what you need to be doing. And every kind of movement at the end of the day, it matters because small moves, they make a difference. Honoring your body and the progress you're making, that's huge. And just know that this community is moving with you. We're moving with you together. The key here is intentional movement, setting aside some time and thinking about what you're going to do and find some joy in whatever it is that you're doing. And that's your Movement for Movement Monday. Okay, moving on to Topic Tuesday. It's a doozy, guys. Some of our Mondays and all of our Tuesdays are doozy, or say that fast, Tuesdays or doozies. All of our Mondays and our Tuesdays are doozies. Okay. You can't get into what an aneurysm is or what a dissection is, or even talking about heart valve disease without understanding fully what the aorta is. Everybody should be starting at basics there. Don't jump into a new year with something when somebody doesn't even know what we're talking about. The aorta is the main vessel in the body. It's actually now its own organ, and we're going to learn here the reasons behind that. It delivers oxygen-rich oxygen-rich blood to every part of your entire body. I mean, every heartbeat pulses that blood into the aorta. It's under a high degree of pressure, making the structure and the overall health of the layers critical for it to work properly. And because it handles such pressure and force, it is built with very thick elastic walls, and that kind of allows it to stretch with every heartbeat, recoiling as well to keep the blood moving slowly and smoothly. Okay, here's the aorta. All right, so let's get into it. We have all these different zones, and they all mean different things. I'm going to review this really quickly, and then we're going to wrap up this Topic Tuesday before we get into the next bit of information. We have the sinus of Valsalva. That's your area where you're going to have your aortic valve. This is all part of the aortic root. That includes the sinotubular junction, which is listed right here. Then we move into zone 0. Zone 0 is your ascending aorta, okay? Zones 1 and 2 in yellow incorporate the branches that come off of the aortic arch. Also, very important area. What you're going to notice about the aorta is there's different areas throughout where there's branching off, okay? Zone 3, little small zone up here, into 4 and 5 all incorporate and encompass the thoracic aorta. It is the descending thoracic aorta. This is also thoracic because anything in the chest wall is thoracic, but this is your descending aorta. Right below the line of the diaphragm, you have zones 6, 7, 8, and 9. They are part of the abdominal aorta. They include the suprarenal, pararenal, and infrarenal. We're going to talk about what all that means. And zones 10 and 11 in red are where the aorta splits off and heads down into the legs. Now, let's get into the aorta segments and branches. Okay, we just talked about the aortic root. And that is the area that has your right coronary artery and your left coronary artery. See, these arteries supply blood to different areas of the heart. That's the key principle here. I'm not going to read through everything, but basically, this segment that involves your valve can lead to aortic regurgitation, myocardial ischemia, life-threatening complications. Diseases of the aortic root are commonly managed with an aortic root replacement, such as something called the Bentel procedure or valve-sparing root repair. It depends on the valve's integrity and the condition that the valve's in. The ascending aorta, the portion that comes up from the root, it has no main branches. It has none. There's no main arteries or anything that comes off of that. However, it is typically exposed to a high degree of pressure with those heartbeats, making it a common site for aneurysms in type A or ascending, right? Type A, easy way to remember that, dissections. And any disease that involves the ascending aorta is often treated with an ascending aortic replacement. Could be with a root surgery or not, can include the valve or not. And next comes the arch. Now, the arch is very important because that has three main branches that come off of that. So it's a critical crossroad between the heart and the brain. The branches in order would be the brachiocephalic trunk that divides into the right common carotid and the right subclavian arteries, which lead into the arms, the left common carotid, and then the left subclavian artery, which goes into the arm. I think I'm right. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. So those blood vessels that come off of the arch, they supply blood to the brain, to the neck, and the upper limbs. That's also a common site for aortic aneurysms and types A, non-A, and non-B dissections. So that wouldn't be considered either. They're often treated with an arch replacement or a frozen elephant trunk. Then we moved into the descending thoracic aorta, and they have a lot of main branches too. So they have the intercostal arteries that provides blood to the ribs and the chest wall, the bronchial arteries that gives blood to the lungs, the esophageal arteries, the spinal arteries. A lot of branches come off of that descending thoracic aorta, and that's your common area for aneurysms or a type B dissection, and that can be treated with medication or typically now through a TEVAR, which would be a endovascular repair. Then we went down to just underneath the diaphragm, and that becomes your abdominal aorta. And there's a lot of branches off of that. I mean, think about everything that sits in your aorta, your abdominal area. You have the celiac trunk that feeds blood to the liver, the stomach, and the spleen. The supramesenteric artery, that's going to feed blood to the small intestine and part of the colon. Renal arteries, they take care of your kidneys. The inferior mesenteric artery takes care of the distal colon. And then you have lumbar arteries. And then actually at the level of the lower part of the abdomen where it branched down, the final part of the zone is the right common iliac artery and the left common iliac artery. Now those arteries give blood supplies to the pelvic region and the legs. And why is it important that we even understand these branches? Why they decided to make this an organ and segment it into zones is because each branch and each segment can oftentimes feed a specific organ system, which means that diseases in these different segments can cause different symptoms. Surgical and endovascular treatments must protect these branches. Complications depend heavily on which vessels are involved. And this is why aortic surgery really requires meticulous planning and specialized expertise. So if you think of the aorta like a tree, the trunk is the aorta itself, right? The large branches are what comes off the arch. They feed the brains and the lungs. And then the lower branches, they feed the organs and the legs. Okay, so you have the brain and the arms, the organs and the legs. Damage at different levels of a tree affect different branches, which is why anatomy actually is what guides the different treatment. So different wall composition exists throughout these different areas, different branching patterns, different hemodynamic stresses or blood pressure stresses. All of these different disease patterns, depending on where they are, they affect the imaging strategies, the types of images that you're going to have done. They're going to impact the treatment as well. So very important information that gets you into the basics of this beautiful organ, the aorta. And you can check out this information brought to you by Alvaro, our med student, if you check out the blog from last Tuesday. And we will soon talk about our future posts. Okay, so we are moving on to our Feel Good Friday post. You know, last week was officially the first week of the year. And let's see here. We survived it. Everybody survived it. That's all that matters. We got through it. And what we did on Facebook is we had a little contest asking people to post a meme on how they celebrated the first week. And of course, my pump head and my inability to take a minute and read. I just posted a picture of my dog. I thought because it was a dog that's what we were supposed to do. But needless to say, you know, you celebrate the wins, even if it's 1 week at a time. So that was our Friday. Okay, now we are going to go on to Saturday. So Saturday was our Survivor series. We have been doing the Survivor series now since 2016. We're going into our 10th year of doing things differently than the way it was done in the past. We have our survivors tell their story. We don't ask questions. We don't have preset questionnaire forms like interviewers. We just simply say, come on and tell your story in written format, in pre-recorded, or by going live on YouTube. As a follow-up, back in, I think 2019 or 18, we started the Where Are They Now series. We've been doing both of these series for a very long time, and they're very important. Whether you want to talk about your experience with, excuse me, aortic valve disease, aortic aneurysms, or aortic dissection, your ability to validate someone else's experience is not only therapeutic, but it's very inspiring. We just want you to be a shining light in someone else's life. We want you to help others thrive and not just survive. So this story that I'm going to read to you is by a gentleman named Neil or Niall, if I'm screwing that up, Harrison. And I'm reading this as if I'm him. Before you read on, I just want to say that this is a very long and detailed letter, mainly to myself and for myself. It's not shared for sympathy or attention, but because understanding exactly what happened, the why and the how, is how I'm processing it all. I'm someone who needs the facts to build a complete picture. I've even contacted St. John Ambulance to request the recording of my 000 call, the equivalent of 911 here in the States, because I want to fully understand that day, and most importantly, to personally thank the paramedics who found me and saved my life. I don't expect people to read it. Well, we're telling it to you all right now, but I've been contacted by a support group in America, that would be us, to share their story. So to share a story. So if you are interested and got 15 minutes, here we go. It's shorter than that. So Niall or Neil says, I wanted to give you an update on what's happening since the 2nd of November of 2025. I've tried to find the right words because this has been the most frightening, emotional, and overwhelming period of my life. And many people don't know just how serious things have been. Suffered a type A dissection, one of the most deadly medical emergencies a person can face. In my case, the tear in my aorta was massive, and the surgical team later told me it was the most complex and challenging cases or surgery they've ever undertaken. Many people don't survive an injury like this, and the fact that I'm still here is something I'm going to be forever grateful for. I have no memory of the day that it happened or almost a full week afterwards. From what I've been told, I somehow managed to call 000 myself from the car at the top of the Armadale Shopping Center. I reported severe ripping chest pain, profuse sweating, and disorientation. It all happened suddenly and completely out of the blue. It took the paramedics about 15 minutes to locate me using their sirens while the operator listened through my phone call. I will forever be grateful to the AMBOs who found me and saved my life. I was taken to the Armadale Hospital where scans quickly confirmed the dissection, and I was immediately transferred to Fiona Stanley Hospital as a priority 1 emergency. While this was happening, my family received the devastating call telling them to get to the hospital urgently as the situation was extremely serious and there was no guarantee I would survive. Knowing now what they went through in those 9 hours of surgery and the days and weeks that followed is heartbreaking for me. When my daughter stated she thought she was going to be an orphan, it absolutely devastated me. When I arrived at Fiona Stanley late on a Sunday afternoon, a full team of doctors were already waiting. The professionalism, skill, and compassion shown by everyone involved was extraordinary. My main surgeon, who I still call my life-saving angel, went above and beyond. She checked on me constantly throughout my stay, stayed updated even while attending a conference interstate, and personally stopped in to see me on her way home from the airport. I'll never be able to express how grateful I am to her and the entire surgical team. To save my life, they performed a 9-hour Bentall procedure, one of the most complex forms of open heart surgery. My chest was open, my sternum cut, and the surgeons worked all the way up towards the arteries supplying my brain. The destroyed section of my aorta was removed and replaced with a synthetic graft. A new aortic valve was implanted and my coronary arteries were carefully reattached. Parts of my ascending aorta and aortic arch were also replaced. Because the tear extended into the aortic arch, the surgeons also had to carefully detach, rebuild, and reconnect the major blood vessels supplying my brain and neck. This process, known as debranching and reconstruction, is incredibly delicate and high risk. These arteries supply the brain, and even minutes without blood flow can cause catastrophic damage. The level of precision and teamwork required is almost impossible to comprehend, and it's another reason my case was considered so complex. After about a week after the initial surgery, I developed another life-threatening complication called a cardiac tamponade. Fluid rapidly built up around my heart, placing dangerous pressure on it and preventing it from filling and pumping properly. During an urgent echocardiogram, the cardiologist quietly said to me, "You're going to be seeing your surgeon very soon." By the time I was wheeled back to my room, my surgeon was already sitting there waiting. Everything moved with calm urgency. I was taken straight back to the theater, OR, where a large volume of fluid was drained from around my heart. Without this immediate intervention, I would not have survived. I then spent several more days in ICU while my heart stabilized. After the initial surgery, I also experienced a small stroke, which caused weakness on my right side. Thankfully, this has steadily improved with time. Over my first admission, I spent weeks in the hospitals, including extended time in the ICU. I woke many times to teams of doctors all around my bed as my heart rate swung dangerously low and high. Over 3.5 weeks, I had more than 80 injections and blood tests, along with multiple arterial lines. Throughout it all, the nurses and doctors and support staff were unfailingly kind, attentive, and professional. And finally, coming home, my recovery was complicated by repeated episodes of dizziness and neurological symptoms. After an extreme episode of dizziness, numb mouth and tongue, and a tingling left arm, I went back to Fiona Stanley Emergency. I was readmitted for more than another week in the hospital, where further scans showed small temporary interruptions to blood flow in my brain, basically small TIAs. But thankfully, no major stroke or new damage. My medications were adjusted, and once again, I was surrounded by an incredible team who monitored me closely and treated me with compassion and care. In total, I spent over a month in hospital, not the best place to get comfortable, but the bonus is I lost nearly 10 kilograms in that time. There were also moments during my stays that really brought home how close everything had been. Sitting in my room one day, a doctor poked in his head and said, "You wouldn't remember me." He was the anesthesiast from the day of the incident. He showed me one of my scans and explained that he now is using it in an upcoming anesthetics conference. On the image, what had once been my heart valve looked like strands of spaghetti flowing backwards and forwards with each heartbeat. It was confronting but also grounding to finally see what my body had been through. On my final stay, a nurse began a sentence with, "People don't normally slur." I'm sorry, that's not what she said. She said, "People don't normally slur," and stopped herself. Both my daughter and I laughed and finished it for her. "They don't normally survive." Later, a doctor came to my bedside and said, "I heard you on my ward, but I didn't think I'd actually get to meet you." He told me that the scans and his story were already being shared among doctors. Hearing that was sobering, but it also reinforced just how extraordinary the care I received really was at every stage, from ICU to just being on the regular wards. The dedication, kindness, and skill of the staff at Fiona Stanley Hospital and the ambulance service had been nothing short of extraordinary. They didn't just treat me as a patient, they treated me as a person. Through everything, my family and my extremely patient partner, Ursula, never left my side. They carried me through fear, the setbacks, and the long days, and continued to support me as I recover. I simply would not be here without them. I'm home again now, taking things slowly. There's still a long road ahead, but every day feels like a gift. I'm deeply grateful for the second chance I've been given and for every person who played a part in getting me here. Thank you to everyone who's checked in, sent messages, or kept me in your thoughts. Your support has meant more than I can ever put into words. So thank you for sharing your story. This is why we have a Survivor series. And you can find this by clicking on blog or going to the right-hand side of the screen and clicking Survivor series if you'd like to read more or read it over again. Okay, we're now off to Share With You Sunday. Help belts. Okay, I have one. Let me grab it. Show it to you in real time. although it's a color that you cannot have because it's my personal stash. This is the seatbelt cover. So if I were wearing it on my seatbelt, it would look like this, across my chest here. If you're in the passenger seat here, or it depends on what car you're in and what country. These colors come in two choices. You can get it in red in the picture above. You can get it in black. And there's two sayings. It can either say aortic disease or it can say medic alert. They easily Velcro and they just wrap around your belt cover. Okay. There is a card on the inside pocket that allows you to tell emergency medical the emergency medical system, the EMS or EMTs, to tell them if you have allergies or if you're on a blood thinner. These things are kind of important, and they know to read it because there is an emergency logo on it. But it doesn't stop with just a car seatbelt. You can attach it to a leash if you're taking a dog for a walk, or a backpack strap, or a bar on your bike. There's many different places that this can go, and really it leaves you just feeling safer when you're traveling, that your potential medical emergency will be easily recognized. Now, we will send this to you in the States with an $18 donation. There is no shipping cost, and internationally, a $23 donation. Again, we are absorbing that shipping cost for you. There's a link on the blog post, or you can easily go to Hope Shops and you will find all of the items that we have available for sale and with a donation. Okay, let's move on to our events. Across the top of our event page, you will always have the listing of our support group meetings. If you hover your cursor and you click on the one you're interested in, it will open up a registration form. All you have to do is fill that out once, and then you will be notified every time we offer our support group meetings. So we do offer caregivers twice a month, the first Saturday at 10 a.m. and the second Wednesday at 10 p.m. A group that's open to survivors and caregivers. So anyone with aortic disease, valve disease, aneurysms, dissections, what have you. That happens the first Tuesday of every month at 12 p.m., second Tuesday at 10 p.m., and the last Wednesday at 7 p.m. We have a support group in Canada. That is the first Wednesday at 6 p.m. My hope is that sometime in 2026, we can offer a support group in French. We have a group that is in Spanish. We have dates on that to be determined. And we have a bereavement support group, meaning the second Thursday every other month at 7 p.m. So what we have right now for the rest of the month, we have got our Canadian, actually have our support. Wait, what is today? Ooh, today's the 12th. We are missing one. We actually have a support group meeting happening tomorrow night on the 13th, you guys, at 10 p.m. That is our second Tuesday at 10 p.m. and that will be updated. We have our Caregiver Connection Wednesday at 10 p.m. We also have a women's only meetup. It's called Women Inspiring Support and Empowerment. So it is a group just for the ladies. That is the last Monday of every month at 7 p.m. And we have an Ask a Doctor, mainly happening on Facebook. Sometimes we relay the information here on YouTube, but it's mainly going to happen on Facebook, where you'll have an opportunity to post questions on the page, public questions. If you want to ask anonymously, you'll have to submit a form. But Dr. Prakash, who is a cardiologist out of UT Houston, will answer your questions in real time as best as he can, given the fact that he's not your physician and doesn't have your background or your scans. He will give you a general answer, or maybe help you reframe your question as you are acing your healthcare journey in a way that you can then ask the question of your own doctor. And we will be having 2 Canadian doctors interviewed by Jack Crow from our friends over at Aortic Athletes. We'll be doing that, I think, on the 21st. That'll be updated as well. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm just going to chat a little bit. There's a lot going on here, guys. And what I need to do is I want to move this so that I can read this to you. I need to give a shout out. I need to take a moment to really sincerely acknowledge and thank one of our many sponsors going into the year 2026. Edwards Life Science, man, your continued support over the years, it it means so much to us. You've been supporting us now for quite a few years. Your partnership really means more to us than words can fully express. And we're deeply grateful for your commitment to patients, progress, and innovation, and having you on board here to sponsor this year's Week in Review. Um, it means a lot to us. You know, Edward Life Science has been a longtime leader in the aortic and structural heart arena, advancing life-saving technology that improves outcomes and quality of life for people facing really complex aortic disease surgery. Their dedication to research, precision, and patient-centered solutions continues to shape the future of aortic care and empower both the clinician and patients worldwide. It's kind of like when we say ace your healthcare journey through advocacy, um, communication, and education. It's not a power struggle, it's a power balance. Edwards has been ahead of the curve in creating an environment like this. And on a personal note, I am so incredibly excited and honored to have one of Edwards' valves in my body. It's a powerful reminder of the real lives that their work touches every day. And I'm also really looking forward to attending their upcoming Patient Experience Day, where patients, innovation, and shared stories, they come together. And you can go on their website and sign up. If you have an Edwards product, you can sign up to hopefully be accepted into a Patient Experience Day as well. So in the end, we're just really proud to stand alongside a company whose mission so closely aligns with ours, and thankful for the lasting impact that they continue to make in the aortic hope and aortic disease community. So thank you for sponsoring our Week in Review, Edwards Life Science. And I think that's it. I think I got through my first Week in Review. That's exciting. Happy to see all of you again, and look forward to many more and some super exciting stuff coming your way. So just want you guys to have a great rest of your week, and we will talk again soon.